Hey guys, it's me, Jeffrey again, and as it says in the title, that this is really going to be about what happened last night, and it's and really about this whole Ray Fisher thing, and there was, and let's just say that there was a lot of activity that really went down. So we're just gonna go through over what happened, and as I said, like he could, and is pretty much gonna be a follow up on Ray on my last video on the whole Ray Fisher thing. And today we're gonna start off with, and to start that off, I guess we'll start off with Ray Fisher's Twitter thread that happened last night, where I'm going to read it entirely up, where he where he straight up called the Rap and also Variety, where he made this Twitter thread saying, "I strongly suggest that the Rap amends this article immediately," which what he was talking about was the articles that came out about him instead not being Cyborg or being recast as Cyborg. And that's exactly what he's talking about, which we all kind of found out was a hit piece, or all knew immediately that was a hit piece because it was made by Umberto. And he says, "While I appreciate the reporter's undying desire to do Warner Brothers and Walter Amada's bidding, it is factually inaccurate. I did not publicly step down from anything." Now that right there, he is Now that right there is pretty straightforward. He is saying that he's straight up calling the reporters that are giving them hit pieces and saying that what happened was a whole bunch of hit pieces, just basically calling him out. But here's where things get interesting. If WB Pictures has made the decision to remove me from The Flash rather than address in any way Walter Amada tampering with the JL investigation, that's on them. The idea of removing whole the role rather than recasting it is being used to avoid public backlash. And if you and that really and that right there, if you actually did pay attention to the tweet of that article, like it got blasted hard. So, which then, like, even though they tried to avoid public backlash, it's actually pretty funny that they still got public backlash with the hashtag Ray Fisher is our cyborg event that happened a few days ago, which again is going to be happening tomorrow at 2:14 UTC time, and that's going to be very fun. So once again, fans are king in this whole situation. Then we go to the Warner Brothers PR team has struggled to regain control of the narrative ever since they failed to bury me and the JL investigation with their September 4th hit piece, which unsurprisingly was written by the same reporter. More on WBPR and Jonah Puertes later. Now that right there, still talking about the fans seeing through the narrative that that the media is trying to put on. And so the fact is the Justice League investigation led to Warner Media and its affiliates parting ways with Joss Whedon. Jeff Johns will be following suit. Now, now that right there is really, I know this is about last night, but that right there is what people are trying to spin as saying, as Ray is saying, oh, he as saying, oh, Ray lied, Jeff Johns isn't going nowhere. But the fact is that Ray said will be following suit, not has followed suit. Like it will happen, but it hasn't happened yet. That's the problem with these false narratives. They always try to push things immediately, but really don't have the patience for this, because I do believe that that Variety and the Wrap actually replied to this exclusively and and said that he's lying within 2 hours of this thread, which is pretty funny because it seems like now they're in full on desperate mode right now with trying to keep Ray quiet and stay down. And if you really think about it, like, Ray didn't quit at all. Like, all Ray said was that he refuses to work with Walter Amada. He didn't say that he quit the role. Like, that's very telling, because really, once again, like, because really, like, if you really think about it, really didn't say he quit being the Flash. Like, as you can see, Ray has been blunt this whole time. So so when Ray says that he refuses to work with Walter Amada, that really didn't say to me, oh, he quit the Flash. Like, to me, that just says, as blunt as it is, he refuses to work with projects affiliated with Walter Amada. That's it. He didn't say that he quit. Then we go here in this last one. In this last one, my team and I are still in deep conversation with Warner Media regarding these matters, and Flash or no Flash, we truly intend to see this through. I'll keep you all posted, but in the meantime, thank you for your continued support. And that right there is proof right there that Ray has not quit being Cyborg for the Flash. He's still in talks, so he immediately destroys that false narrative right there. Because if you actually pay attention to the writers, and I've been paying attention to the writers for this for a long time, and the people who are writing these articles are always the same person. Umberto, and who was that rap guy? it's Umberto, I think his name is called, and it's always that same dude that's doing that. So it's like, why is he always doing that when he said, "Oh, they're not planning on doing the where they're not planning on releasing the Snyder Cut," and it happened. So it's like, why would I believe you for the longest time saying that there is no Snyder Cut? It's not going to happen. And you're in both Variety and the Wrap. That just really doesn't make any sense for me to pay attention to you. So now that we got all of the quote boring stuff out of the way, let's go to this person right here called that I'm going, which I know I've always been blunt on you saying that I'm going to be saying names, but I feel like this person is really wouldn't like it or would feel very uncomfortable because because of the whole situation that he was put on last night. So I'm just gonna say that his name is Mike. So yeah, here we go. Uh, duh, 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 duh. So here we go. Let's go to the top. So first, it starts off with this tweet from Mike that was 5 days ago, where he replied to Ray Fisher's raised a pinned tweet about the over 80 people were interviewed for Warner Media's JL investigation. So, and it starts off with Mike saying, "Just throwing my voice into the mix as a former DC employee, and the work culture, and he's using quotes here. Much of the leadership within the entire DC organization suffers from toxicity. Nobody ever hears about it when it occurs at our level. So thank you for bringing it to light." And now, like I said, that tweet was actually 5 days ago. It wasn't very recent. It was a week ago. And now, ever since last night, that tweet and Mike are now getting questions answered throughout the night. And that right there is saying, and I'm going to read this again. So he says that he's a former DC employee, and he says that that the work culture and much of the leadership within the DC organization suffers from toxicity. And that right there is really what Ray said during that Forbes article, that Warner Brothers has really a toxic work relationship and a toxic atmosphere. So that right there proves the fact that this guy Mike, he knows what happened. So then he goes on into further where Bat Kilmer asks him, "Can you who can we get your take on this if you feel comfortable?" And then Mike replies, "I worked in DC Comics publishing at Mad Magazine. The accepted culture was very much," and he's using quotes for this part, Work unpaid overtime if you want to get work bleh. Work unpaid overtime if you want to get anywhere, and learn to accept supervisors yelling at you and talking down to you because you're lucky to have a job. Wow. Just wow. Like I'm still looking at this and I'm like really shocked on this whole thing because like I said, like this guy really has really did work for DC for the for and then he left for some reason. He hasn't really specifically said why, and he said that he just left. And really, from this, from looking at this, where he's saying these quotes, work unpaid overtime if you want to get anywhere, and learn to accept supervisors yelling at you, talking down to you because you're lucky to have a job. Like looking at this, like this is just one tweet. I'm not. This is only the same tweet I'm reading to you guys. Like I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that this guy quit. So yeah, like, and that right there is just like really, really toxic if you ask me. And so we go there, and he says, hold on, let's restart. Going up, going up. So then in this tweet thread, like, I really personally wasn't trying to get him involved. I was just trying to give answers to this guy. And so then what this person, Lord Death Man, says is, what does DC Comics have to do with the JL movie set? Now, that right there is a very valid question. Like, what does that have to do with the JL set? So then Mike comes on, and once again, like I wasn't expecting him to hop on the discussion I was having with this guy, and he just hopped on his own accord. So I didn't contact him or nothing. I was just showing him the guy's tweet. That was all my intent. So Mike hops on and says, I really didn't want to engage you, but it's all tied together. WB owns DC Comics, not just the rights, but the whole thing. People who run films at WB also run departments at DC, and vice versa. The toxic leadership filters throughout the entire organization. And that right there shows how deep this goes. Like, like really, let me read it to you again. The WB owns DC Comics, not just the rights, but the whole thing. So for the people who are wondering why other people don't do, so it's kind of like this with WB and DC. Like, and we're gonna be comparing this to Marvel. because this is the only time that it makes sense. Marvel is owned by two companies now. Before it was owned by three. It was owned by Disney, Fox, and then it was owned by Disney, Fox, and Sony. Now Marvel is just owned by Disney and Sony. So so Sony can make their own. So Sony, a separate company from Disney, can make their own Marvel movies with their own continuity with the what I'm calling the Venomverse, right? So Sony can make the the Venomverse or the Spider Verse franchise that they're doing with Miles Morales, but and Disney can make their own thing with the MCU. That's where Marvel is. It has two separate companies doing their own thing. So then you have WB that are the only ones that can make not only DC comics but also DC movies, DC TV shows. They own the entire DC. They own the entire DC market as it may from like I said, TV, animation, live action movies, even the comics. So that right there is like saying how deep this goes. So WB, even though Mad might be part of it, or something that might be a part of, completely separate from the from the DC genre, it's still it's still on par and connected to what's going on because WB is a very toxic workplace to go to, and then right there, like once again, like this guy Mike, he says WB owns DC as a whole, not just parts of it, but as a whole. So then he so then we go. Man, my phone's slow. So hold on. So then, so then, Lord Desmond says, "Oh, I see. Who are they? Top, top people, and why are they doing it? Isn't there a law that prevents this from happening?" And so then there were three replies where so then he says, listen, the only reason I didn't seek a lawsuit against WB when I left was because many of my coworkers, Andy's putting this part in parentheses, my friends would have been listen, the only reason I didn't seek a lawsuit against WB when I left was because many of my coworkers, my friends, would have been dragged into court, and then lost their own jobs. When you're faced with stuff like that, Hollywood wins, man. And that right there is, and that right there, like, I can really sympathize with Mike right there because really it goes to show that to the people who are saying, hey, why didn't these guys say something sooner or something like that? Why did he have to wait, or why didn't he say something sooner? Why did he wait this long to say something? Like he says right here, like he was scared and worried about his friends losing their jobs. And I think as a human being, like as human beings, we can all accept that. Like, can you risk a taking down the company, and where even if you were to win, you would where even if you were to win, your friends would lose their jobs, and like that's really something to really be scared of. So it's like with that, like you can really expect that to happen because because really I really want you guys, and I want you to actually put people who don't support Ray or cancel culture at all in this to introduce them to this video because I'm actually about to say something very important. Like, how would you feel if you were in this man's position and you had the power who to challenge, and you had the option to challenge to make a lawsuit to a big company like WB, but at the same time, and you want to go for it, but at the same time, if you want, but at the same time, you have friends there that have jobs there, and you don't, and you're afraid about having your friends lose their jobs. Would you go for that lawsuit, or would you just stay quiet until it's actually safe for you to do so, to call for a lawsuit? Hmm. And yeah, like I said, if I was in his position, like I really wouldn't know what to do at the moment. If I was in that position right at that moment, I honestly wouldn't know what to do because I care about my friends, but I don't, like, I want to call a lawsuit, but it's like at the other side of the spectrum, you have your friends there that work with you, that work at that company. It's like a really tough situation and a really tough choice for you to make. So I can really understand all these people that are coming out now when they when all of these when all this stuff happened way earlier, because they wanted to have a open to have a they wanted to strike when it was safe for them to do so, just like Ray is doing right now. It is now safe for him to do so, and even during the whole investigation, like he said during Instagram that he is during this investigation, he was trying to help his friends and cohorts out by having them basically immunity so that they can say whatever they want without them losing their jobs. So that right there is just like a lot to take into perspective. And if there's still people out there that still say like, oh, but still, what about the whole law thing and stuff like that? Like, think about it. He has this to say to you. Have you ever worked in Hollywood? If regular wealthy people can walk away from something like the vehicle manslaughter with probation, do you really think famous wealthy people care about laws? Like, that's also a really good question, because if you also think about it like that, like you have Amber Heard right now, who has lied about giving charity away, and this whole Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard situation, like, she's lied a lot and has really gotten away with it. Like, she has really gotten away with it. She even lied on oath in court, and she's still getting away with it. So it's like with what Mike says here, like, do you really think that famous if do you really think famous wealthy people can care about laws? Like like I said, like Amber Heard, it lied on oath during the court case and still got away with it. So why wouldn't why wouldn't Toby Emmerich Walter Amada, John Berg, and Jeff Johns get away with? Is it really that far fetched if Amber Heard, a actress, can get? Is it really hard for you to understand and to cope with a actress getting away with law breaking, and then have people like Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, John Berg, Walter Amada get away with something that's very law breaking? I don't think so. And it's really kind of like the same thing, and really it's kind of like the same thing with Joey's Corner in a way, because who he because and he's not even wealthy at this point. Like, if you really think about it, because Joey's Corner, he actually blackmailed is actually blackmailing Max with his whole identity and stuff like that to put it for the world to see. Like, so it's like, why hasn't anyone called the cops on Joey's Corner? So it's like stuff like that. Like, if small time YouTubers can also get away with breaking the law, why can't why can't the heads of Toby Emmerich, Walter Amada, John Berg, and Jeff Johns get away with it? Like, that's a really good, like, if you're asking me, that's a really, really, really good question. So, yeah, that's the video, guys. I really do hope you enjoyed this one and really take in consideration throughout this 34-minute video, that I can't believe I lasted that long, actually. That throughout this whole video, that, yeah, like, you really do get a lot of perspective into this. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.